Good morning, good afternoon, welcome to Product Keynote, and I can guess you know what we are going to talk about. But let's start by introducing myself because I'm still quite new in Kentico Xperience. I'm responsible for product marketing and product management, which is where I spent the last 15 years. Career-wise, I started in content management a long time ago, more on the open side of things. Then I went through e-commerce. Then I took a break to build headless solutions, but in different industries. And now I'm getting back where I started because it's simply very close to my heart. Another thing that is close to my heart is looking into the future. And this is exactly what we are going to do right now. So speaking about Kentico Xperience and its products, you know Kentico Xperience 13. You may have heard about the next generation product Xperience by Kentico, which is going to be successor of Kentico Xperience 13. So the question you may have, should I be excited? And I have to say absolutely, and I will tell you why. So what's the agenda for today? I will start talking about the drivers that influence our product strategy. This is going to be the first part of the presentation. And then in the second part, I will focus on products, their strategies, and what is coming and when. And so let's start with the first part. Just a reminder of the key strategic concepts you already heard earlier in the keynote. So the first one is win-win-win. It's a win for clients, it's a win for partners, and win for us, which is about being close to each other, listen to each other, have a dialogue. That's what the customer intimacy is about. The other thing was about brand communication. So not only about being close to our clients, but also guide them, which is what Mentor does. And if you think about these two, it's customer intimacy, it's really customer success team, sales team, communications, marketing team. But the question we as a product team were asking, are there things we can do in our product that would be also aligned with these concepts and support them? I will answer this question later in the presentation, so let's move on. Then we have the change in the target market, and I'm going to use digital experience maturity model to explain our perspective and what this change actually means. So, what is digital experience maturity model and how to use it? We and our partners use the maturity model to help our clients in understanding how mature their company is in the digital world so that they can plan better, make better decisions, and fully utilize the platform. On the left, you have typically small companies, and on the right, bigger ones, and each row captures some marketing requirements. The point is to grow step by step and find the right spots that fit your company needs. Just to be clear, the goal is not to grow to megacity. That would be a waste of resources. But coming back to the upper mid-market opportunity I started with. The upper mid-market is on the right side of the model, and the more to the right you go, the higher the chance the customer wants to communicate via more than just one channel. And this opens multi-experience as a big theme we need to deal with, and I will get to that in a minute. The other big thing here is the adoption of DXP. So let's take a look at that first. We know companies do not fully utilize DXP capabilities of their products. An example could be personalization. Everyone asks, but only a fraction of customers are actually using it in the end. And in many cases, they use only a very basic implementation. So we are asking what the barriers to adoption are. Is it the initial analysis where you have to take a look at the data, spend some time on it, coming up with an idea, or is it really the difficulty in setting things up in the product? And we more or less have the same question again. What can we do to increase the adoption? What are the things that would make advanced DXP capabilities more accessible? Perhaps even to the lower tiers on the digital experience maturity model. Because it's always sad when you build a feature and only a handful of people can use it. So this is another challenge we see and we believe we can improve. And you can always join the panel discussion if you want to know more about digital experience model. Okay, so let's get back to multi-experience. And just a reminder, we see opportunity on the right side of the digital maturity model, and thus we expect higher demand on multi-experience capabilities. Now, when you say multi-experience, the typical response is headless. But I think it's slightly more complicated than that, and the diagram tries to show the evolution in the best way. So all started traditional, monolithic, focusing on one channel, essentially web. This is where I started. Over time, when new channels started to appear, phones, tablets, headless started to becoming more and more popular. But both options are valid and could perfectly coexist. And if you need a simple site, then go with traditional approach If you know you want to build a rich experience across several channels, go with pure headless. But we see recently that marketers are pushing against the pure headless because they want to be more independent, and this brings us to hybrid headless. The best way forward for us seems to be to take the middle road. It makes marketers less dependent on the developers, but at the same time leaves the door open for building complex experiences in multiple channels. So much to the approach to multi-experience and how we want to tackle it. Let's take a look at another big topic, and that is composable DXP. What it is, so composable DXP is essentially one of the approaches how to build the whole DXP platform, its architecture. Gartner's definition is composable DXP applications should be built using small module capabilities as opposed to today mostly monolithic all-in-one DXPs. What does it mean in practice? So let's say you have a marketing strategy and requirements, and you want to have tools to support it. Content management system, email, automation, personalization. With composable DXP, you should pick the best of breed products and integrate them. But it's you who do the integration. You are responsible. You need to negotiate everything on your own with all the vendors. The big benefit is that the outcome would fit your needs perfectly, and you don't have to do any compromises. You have full control of it, and you can adjust whatever is needed. But to be able to do it, you really need a big IT department. So there is another flavor which we call integrated DXP. It's similar to composable, but the whole solution is integrated and delivered by one vendor. Pros are very clear. It's one vendor, a single point of contact. In case of troubles, you have one phone number to call for help. The procurement is easy. You will pay less. But the cons are also very clear. It's not best of breed anymore because it's what the vendor had in its portfolio. You are locked with that vendor, and it's not even unified, because all the tools are different, were built differently. And that brings me to this slide, and we believe, and the market shows, there is a better approach, and we call that approach a unified DXP. In this approach, the core of your solution is one application where you can find all the tools you can use, and it's available out of the box. Pros are very clear. You start with a great foundation, has a great return on investment, it's fast time to market, you have one vendor to deal with, it's unified user experience, it's very easy to train people, architecture is also unified, it's very easy for developers, but there is one key thing in the equation you have to pay attention to. You have to pick a solution that is easy to decompose, because when you, as a customer, outgrow some capability, say email, you should be able to pick this capability and replace with something else that works better for you. So the solution shouldn't be unbreakable monolith, as Gartner defines it. We consider our platform as a unified DXP, and we as a company are a perfect match for this approach. And I believe our VP of Marketing could talk stories about it. But does this mean that the unified DXP is for everyone? The answer would be no. If you seek the best solution, and you have strong requirements, and you have the resources, then composable DXP is a good choice. Imagine you are Amazon. In that case, composable DXP makes perfect sense. But we believe that for the market we are targeting, unified DXP is the best approach. What's next? So the last thing I want to touch briefly in the first part is the cloud and its importance. I found this chart showing DXP segment and where it's going. The forecasted growth in the DXP is obviously interesting in itself, but in the context of cloud discussion, what is even more interesting is the split between cloud and on-premises. The difference is really huge and will grow over time. It's clear that market demands cloud. It comes from all directions. Customers are asking for it. Again, the chart is very clear about it as well. And we also see trends in favor of cloud-native applications. But we will have an analyst speaking about cloud native later today, so I will pause here and close this topic with a statement that having a cloud offering is absolutely essential for our long-term strategy. We cannot ignore it. And with this, I would close the first part of the presentation and move to the next one. And it's going to be focusing on products. Now we are getting to the second part, and let's take a look at Kentico Xperience 13, which is our current flagship product. So it was launched in 2020. We can be proud it's award-winning product, but honestly, it's just the best product we had. It's our current flagship, and we want to keep it attractive, which means keep releasing refreshes. The second product is Xperience by Kentico. next generation DXP we are currently working on. The general approach is that we want to take what was good in Kentico Xperience 13, keep it as it is, tweak things that didn't work that well, plus reflect in the design all the things I was talking about in the first part of my presentation. It's clear that it will be successor of Kentico Xperience 13, so you can immediately start asking questions what the migration path is going to look like. I will get to that in a minute. Another thing is cloud. So Xperience by Kentico is built with cloud in mind. So Xperience by Kentico will be available both in cloud as a service, but also on premises, the same way how Kentico Xperience 13 was. Another point is evergreen version. So we have changed the way how to release product. We want to take an iterative approach and keep extending one version, which is very similar to what we have started doing with Kentico Xperience 13 and refreshes. This means that with Xperience by Kentico, we are going to start with basic capabilities at launch, and we will keep adding more and more features based on your needs and your feedback. Regarding launch, Xperience Kentico will be available as a part of Xperience Adopters Program in June 2022. So yeah, if you wanted to know more about this program, join sessions by James Turner. So let's take a look at Kentico Xperience 13. I will quickly remind strengths of Kentico Xperience 13. The things on the screen are the three things that we typically hear when we ask why Kentico Xperience is great. You know, it's strong in UX with a great low-code, no-code story. It's a unified, both for marketers and developers, which means the same approach to everything. And it's flexible and customizable. At a side note here, this is just as relevant to Kentico Xperience 13 as it is going to be for Xperience by Kentico. We want to take good things from Kentico Xperience 13 and have them in Xperience by Kentico as well. But anyway, let's take a look at what the strategy looks like. So strategy is clear. Continue with refreshes with a focus on the comfort of content editors and marketers. This refers to the first two strengths, unified user experience, low code, no code. With refreshes, we want to make it even better. The next thing is build around integrations and refers to flexibility and customizability. We want to show how easy it is to extend Kentico Xperience 13 and what fantastic thing you can achieve. The goal is to offer more out-of-the-box integrations you can use in your projects. And just to stress the last thing, we want to keep the promise we gave, and we want to have refreshes as smooth as possible. And below you can see planned refreshes for upcoming roughly 12 months. If you want to know more details about upcoming refreshes, join dedicated Kentico Xperience session by David Slavík. So we obviously understand that to be able to make the right decisions for your projects, you need to have a little bit longer visibility into the future. At the moment, we can say that we will keep releasing refreshes for many years to come. We can commit at least until the end of 2024, but it doesn't mean the end. We are going to reevaluate it every year, and if we have customers using Kentico Xperience 13 or wanting Kentico Xperience 13, we will prolong refreshes as well. Here I can only remind customer intimacy as our core value. We won't let you down. At the same time, there has to be a moment in the future when we will stop doing refreshes for Kentico Xperience 13, but this is connected with another topic and a question that many people may ask. Kentico Xperience 13 overlaps with Xperience by Kentico. Will there be a migration path? What it's going to look like? So let's take a look at that as well. I can officially announce that as a part of Xperience by Kentico development, we are already working on a migration suite. It's going to be available immediately with Xperience by Kentico launch. The objective is to migrate as much as possible, but there might be exceptions. You can imagine capabilities that were present in Kentico Xperience 13, but were not moved to Xperience by Kentico. Another thing to keep in mind is that Xperience by Kentico will start with fewer capabilities than Kentico Xperience 13, and thus the migration will be incremental. So as we add new features to Xperience by Kentico, we will extend corresponding migration steps as well. And again, our objective is to make the transition as smooth and cost-effective as possible. And if you want to know more, join session by James Turner dedicated to migration process. So this was all to Kentico Xperience 13. Now let's take a look at Xperience by Kentico. But before that, let's remind all the things we were talking about in the first part of the presentation. I mentioned customer intimacy. I was talking about brand archetypes, the mentor. I mentioned low adoption of DXP, digital maturity model, multi-experience, headless, unified DXP cloud. So now let's take a look how these things translated into product strategy. We have 4 pillars. So the first one is strengthen our strengths, and these are the same strengths I mentioned when I was talking about Kentico Xperience 13. And we said, take what we have and make it better. Then we have embrace multi-experience. We know we have to focus on fully integrated experiences across multiple channels. This was the whole story, the shift to upper mid-market and what it means for us, headless as well. Then we have speed up DXP adoption, which refers to low DXP adoption, brand archetype, customer intimacy. It's really about making things simpler, more accessible, and more automated to save users time and guide and help users as much as possible. And the last point is reaction to trends in the cloud world, and is about making Xperience by Kentico available as a service. So let's take a look at all of them. So strengthen our strengths. Here I have just a couple of examples. We will bring as a part of the new product. So, cutting edge technology. We are going with .NET 6, React. Overall architecture will be improved. It will be way smaller footprint. The whole user flows are optimized. It's designed as a DXP from the very beginning. It's faster and more responsive. It's accessible and easy to use, and the whole concept of components will be unified across the whole product. The next thing is embrace the multi-experience. There are 4 key elements. We know we need headless story, but we know we need more than just headless. We need to go hybrid headless. If we want to go multi-channel, then multi-channel marketing is also a no-brainer. We need to support marketing across all channels. Universal builders, very simple. For anybody who knows Kentico Xperience, imagine you have a page builder, email builder, form builder, or any other builder. We want all of them to look and behave the same to keep consistent experience across all channels. Atomic content is the very basis for being able to centrally share content and reuse it in different channels. And by these channels, we don't just mean the fancy ones like chatbots, wearables, virtual reality, but also traditional web, mobile web, legacy websites. In reality, these are just additional channels, and we know that customers need to deal with them as well. Another pillar, speed up DXP adoption. I will start with an example here. Imagine there is a sudden change in the traffic on one of your landing pages. So when do you find out? That's the question. The next day, or rather at the end of the month, when you work on reports about overall traffic. Wouldn't it be great if anything like this happened, you would be notified immediately? Wouldn't it be even better if the notification also offered possible actions how to resolve the problem? This is the thing we see. Data may be there, but they are of little value because you cannot act upon them because you don't know about it. And the same applies to making things simpler. Wouldn't it be great if you wanted to start customer segmentation? And instead of starting from scratch and doing everything manually, you would get an initial set of segments based on your current traffic, and you can just use it, tweak it if needed. So we group all these concepts into a module or a layer, which we call IRA, and it's the way how we want to introduce smartness into Xperience by Kentico. The whole product in all places will benefit from IRA in one way or another. And how do we want to do it? We want to leverage 17 years of experience in the DXP market, building DXP products. We want to plug in smartness via AI tools, and when user tracking is enabled, which is also a thing we are working on, the whole recommendation system could be really personalized, so no generic recommendations. The goal is really simple: make lives of users as easy as possible and make them as productive as possible. And this brings us to the last pillar. We know that there are customers asking for a solution to be managed by a vendor. We know this because we have lost already many opportunities. You know that even partners that are really great in taking care of these things would in some cases prefer to leave it up to vendor. This is exactly what we want to address, and we want to provide the additional option. Be able to use Xperience by Kentico as a service, and we call it Xperience Managed Cloud Service. So how it's going to work? Once the purchase has been made, we will provision a tenant according to the given tier. The license will be active from the day one, and users will have access almost immediately to the service portal where they can manage their project. So they can start immediately working on it. It will be possible to connect via CI/CD pipelines and deploy to cloud without any manual steps. And in the future, we want also go with containers as well, with essentially zero downtime. So it's all going to be very seamless. On top of that, we want to offer analytics. So what are the key takeaways from the second part? keep releasing refreshes for Kentico Xperience 13 for many years to come, have a migration toolkit to migrate from Kentico Xperience 13 to Xperience by Kentico, launch Xperience by Kentico, including Xperience Managed Cloud Service in June 2022 as a part of the Xperience Adopters program. And I hope that now you have a better understanding of our product strategy and where we are going, and I'm looking forward to your questions.